The 3-year-old. Oh, what a wonderful time of life this is to be, right? There's so many different things that we can talk about when we talk about the 3-year-old. But I want to really also focus on the fact that play is now really becoming very fantastical. They're starting to have some grip on reality, but it's very fluctuating yet. You know, they understand the reality of getting fed and getting dressed and doing what they need to do and go to preschool. Don't get me wrong. But in the emotional system, they are still figuring out that whatever happens, what is the true reality of what emotion to afford to a situation, and what is the over response to a emotional situation. They will try out different roles. They'll play out that they're the witch or the wizard or the powerful figure. And then the next moment they'll play out the baby that's being nurtured and needing a pacifier. They have these fluctuating roles that they have to play out, and seeing differing points of view. Such a crucial stage for emotional development in social, and also getting that social perspective taking. Having toys with animals and doll houses and all kinds of dinosaurs and cars, and just toys are so amazing to get their mind alive and fantasy. But you don't always need toys, you know. You can also really work on, I call it like the nothing box, the nothings box. So just having a box in your home or in your center where there's sticks and stones and lint and tape and different colors of yarn and tools to cut or to build, things that you can make something out of nothing, right? And that this becomes your creation, your creativity. Very, very cool thing to do at home. Keep those old toilet holders and keep those cartons of egg cartons and things that you want to throw away. It could become sorting places. It could become little caves, you know. There's different things that it can become in the mind's eye of the child with stories that they may want to play out. There's a lot of worry about separation at this stage, right? Feeling lost, feeling left behind. But they are so wanting to learn new stuff. They are so open for that development of the new. Um, but there's still fear being excluded and a lot of sibling rivalry. Oh my goodness, let there just be a new baby that's taking mommy's attention away. Might not be the easiest transition. So important to involve them in the process of preparing for the baby and preparing for what their role is going to be, and letting them know they're never going to be left behind without having to actually say those words. But they want the opportunity to take charge because they want to feel that autonomy. Make believe becomes a really great place for you to work on different emotions with a child in your center or even as a parent at home. They can do long stretches of this make-believe play, which is really a cool place to go into the mind and to build the imagination, to build that visualization that's going to influence creativity, which we need in order to do written expression one day, or to understand and comprehend a story, and understanding what's not actually said there, but what's behind the scenes. And all of that comprehension comes from this beautiful playing out of the beginning and the middle and the end of the structure of a story, also having sequential value. And now the executive pathway is alive, right? It's not sturdy by any means. It's really only sturdy by the age of 26, but it's come alive and it's available to the child. It's a bridge between their own power and understanding the power of the parent, and understanding authority, understanding what that actually means. And authority is a very crucial place. That's also being a natural place of transition when we go to preschool, and there's a teacher also that's now in the authority position, not only the caregiver. It's a very deeply personal thing for the child when they're going through this. They absolutely um, relish in their power. They want that sense of power. It's not a power that's going to help them to dominate, even though it may feel like this. Remember, it's not reality yet, not quite. They're getting there, but they're not quite. What it still is, it's the ability to feel and experience the power through the character or through the role they're playing, which may seem to you like, hey, that's a little bit too strong, but for them it's not, because once they feel it and experience it, they can start to own what it really means for them. And then when reality seeps in, they can find a place for it to settle so that that emotion is available, but also the possibility of being under control. You don't control something that you avoid. You don't control something that you let go. You control something when there's a boundary within which you can explore it in the safety and security of a contained relationship. There's a lot of the kids at this stage will also build imaginary friends. And imaginary friends is a nice transition actually to social, because it's a friend that they can control. Remember, they're still working on their motor planning. They're still working on their motor skill, their refinement of their social skill, their empathy, their role playing, and it's still all a work in progress. So when I have an imaginary friend, I can still exert my control over that friend and what that friend is going to do, say, and be, which is some ways to practice on. And then so later when we bring a peer into play and you see the difference that, oh, she's not going to do exactly what I say, not like my imaginary friend would like to do, but there's something different here that I really want, so I'm going to listen up. I had that exposure, I had that experience, I can actually own the difference. So imaginary friends is actually quite healthy for many kids. Doesn't mean that every kid is going to have one, but it is not an unhealthy process. The big piece here is that while they're doing all this role play and all this wonderful stuff, they're also building their conscience and their empathy. So very, very fragile when they're going through meltdowns and they're going through tough times, that they understand that the emotion and the behavior is separate from themselves as a person, even though it's them that's experiencing them. And what I mean by that is that, when they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and we yell at them, they must know and have a security that even when we yell, we still love them. That message must be clear. The powerful imagination. And the imagination needs to be pulled in the direction of autonomy, not in the direction of I'm going to feel inferior. I'm going to feel like I'm not worthy to explore that to the fullest extent that I need to. We want them to have that experience. The inner voice of the child is far less forgiving to themselves than the parent. Even when, as the parent or as the therapist, you have long since forgotten that it's happened and the forgiveness has almost been immediate. Not for the child. They hang on to it. They don't know what sense to make of it yet. They're not there yet in their development. They can't make sense of it. So we have to model the sense they need to make. Because what Jacoboni's research and all those other people are saying now is that it's not what we say, it's what we do. So they are watching and they imitating the way that we respond to their tantrum, their meltdown, their little hissy fit of frustration. And that's modeling is what's ultimately going to help them with self-regulation. And so you always have to ask yourself, who and what do they see when the situation is occurring? Of course, forgive yourself when you mess up, right? Because we're human, we're going to do that. Every child is born to actually want to please their parent. If you have a child that's not completely doing that, it's not because it's willful. Especially at this age, we're not quite into the logic yet that really accounts for the word manipulation or anything like that. It's still all about them, but they're learning that you may have a different thought and idea than they have. The theory of mind is starting to settle in, and it's a fragile place, but they are getting it. They are able to know that, oh, mommy will not want me to have that cookie right now. And whereas at 2, if you catch them buying, taking a cookie, they will keep the cookie in their hand and say, not me. You're like, the evidence is in your hand, bud. But at 3.5, they can start to hide the cookie, right? It's a different theory of mind. And so you don't want that subterfuge. You want that honesty, that integrity. You do want to see sometimes a little bit of slyness because they need to practice that to know what it means so they can recognize that in others who may do that with them. Okay. It's a building of resilience that we're also working on. Just bear in mind that if they could, they would. If they could, they would. They are not born to irk us. They are born to please. And they want to be pleasing. But growing up is hard. There's a lot of stuff to consider. There's a lot of different domains from cognitive to social to emotional to physical. All of those domains must come to a place where this one body is integrating all of it. Keep that in mind when your child is having a tantrum and when it feels like, oh, not today, not again. Lift up and know that your child needs you. The child in your room as a therapist needs you to co-anchor them so they can find the anchoring within themselves. So cool. See you next time.